Time.
Well, let me throw in one last thing. Do you take your hat off when you go in a house or a
Yes.
store or a
Yes.
church? Do you?
Yes.
Is it automatic for you to take your hat off
Yes.
when you go
I
inside?
go into Heinen's to take it off. I went into some place today and I took it off. I always take it off. It's
But yeah, you see around you a lot of men who are not taking.
I don't
their
care what
hat
other
off.
people do.
But you see that? What do you do?
I'll be darned. I never gave it any thought. I never take up my hat off.
Yeah.
I do not take my hat off
But see, I was,
indoors. Do I take it off in
your
church? Well, I
family
mean,
didn't. No
I
one
don't-
told you that that was the way you should
No.
be when you were young.
No.
Was it for me? I mean, it
No.
was
No.
a generational thing.
Well, yeah. Well, no. You know what? It's not generational. These fellows grew up in upper class homes, and so they were taught.
Yeah. Oh, I
They
know.
were taught as young men to be
Please.
sure and
Well,
play golf
now let me.
Please.
because this was the way you're going to make your way in the
Well,
world.
that's right.
And
all
I-
of that is true.
We barely had
Never-
enough money
Ne'er do wells.
for, I mean, a pint of ice cream to share among the six of us.
Well, let me.
In front of the fire that really
Let me-
melted the ice
You
cream.
know.
Anyway, the point is, of course, I rarely wear a hat anyway, and certainly not in
Except
church.
when you're down at the
So when you
ballpark,
talk about,
you wear
so
the
if you say, do I
granny
take it
hat.
off in church? Well, I mean, that never comes up because I'm never wearing a
Granny
hat in
one
church.
Oh,
And I think I probably would in church, just, I don't know. But you're talking about, that's interesting. I mean, I never even thought about going into Heinen's, you take off your
I
hat.
do. I took mine off. It's just
I went to the hospital the other day to take my hat off.
sure.
But I didn't. I
Well, you
went-
say
Well,
sure,
now-
I'll bet 90% of the men in there
I
have got
feel
their
very
ball hat.
uncomfortable.
Well, I
got
think
their-
I
or
think
got
it's
their ball
the
hats on.
generation maybe. But now let me ask you,
Or
where
elitism.
But let me ask you, where in our
Not
society?
elitist.
No.
Let me just say this. I didn't take my hat. The chauffeur took it off for me.
Well, now let me ask you, where in our
It's not
society do you think men are being taught to take off, and women, to take off their hat? when
They're
they go
not.
outside?
They're not being taught that anymore.
Yes, they are.
Where? Amish country?
National Guard.
Well, gee. Not when you're out
let me ask
fighting
you,
a war.
Wait.
I'm in the McDonald's down at McConnellsville, and a young woman and a man walk in. This was last weekend, and they're in their fatigues, and they have their beret on, and as they reach the door, they take their berets off and
All right.
tuck them under their arm. And so I got up and walked over, and I said, "I noticed you took your hats off. Why did you do that?" And they said, "Well, we're trained to do that." I said, "Anytime you go under the transept, I think it's called, or out of the transept,
Transept, that's right. So we're the-
you are to take your hat off. The National Guard teaches that. That's a military teaching now." And I said, well, I was curious because I know I do it, but I don't see very many people do it. But you guys did it so automatically. Like I said, yeah, we are taught to take our hats off when we go in any building, or out. When you leave the building, you can put it back on.
What's the big downtown club in Cleveland?
Uniontown?
Yeah, I think they take their hats off and they go through there. I bet they do.
Well,
Of course, you're not a member.
no. I
Who works in the kitchen part-time?
come in through the back. But of course, a lot of that, I mean, that's an academic question because businessmen don't wear ball caps and they don't wear fedoras. So they're not wearing a hat when they enter anyway. I mean,
Well, I told my grandson about it, and he had never heard from anybody that you should. And so I got him to agree that if you go in a church,
well,
take
church,
your hat off.
church is fine.
You go in someone's home, take your hat off. Other places it's
Well, I mean, I suppose
questionable.
you
If
do
you're
it-
in a shopping mall, are you inside or outside, and what's the deal?
I take
But-
it off.
But
I do.
Heinen's, I mean, really, you go into Heinen's, you take your hat off,
Yes.
even though it shows your hat hair and everything?
See, the problem is I wear the hat because I'm thin up top and it's cold there
Yeah,
in the wintertime.
yeah.
So I take the hat off.
When you drive your car, I
Yeah.
bet you take your hat off.
When I'm inside my car?
Not because of you're inside, but when I get in the
No,
car,
my car I have my hat on because I had the visor down so I don't get the sun.
no, I always automatically take it off just because I get hot sitting in the car. But that's the only time.
How long are you in the car?
Just anywhere. It's just automatic. I lay it up on the dash, and then when I get out, pop it on. And then when I go in, I take it off.
Yeah, I take it off inside buildings.
Well, I mean, I suppose I take it off when I go in a home, just because you don't run around with your hat on in a house. But,
house, you
but-
might.
Yeah, you can do a lot of
well,
weird things.
well, no, as a matter of fact, in this house I do
Wear
wear
a
a
hat
hat
with
because,
muffs and
Cold. It's
well,
freezing
actually,
cold.
when I have
That's a
a,
little
no,
flaps over the ears.
I have a hoodie, okay, I have a hoodie.
He and Bill Belichick share the same thing.
But I'm still struck by the idea of going into Heinen's and taking your hat off. That I just never thought about.
Well, I'm just struck that the military is teaching it.
Well,
I mean,
that's-
where does that come from? Who thought that that's a habit, you know, a politeness, a manner that we want
Yeah,
men
I mean,
and women to do?
I,
It's a courtesy.
I can understand.
What,
I don't understand it, why.
Well, actually, why is it a courtesy? Why is it a courtesy?
people make it up, you know, obviously what's a courtesy, depends on
Well,
what culture
and who are you
you're in.
being courteous to?
I think you're being courteous to the owner of the house.
Well, okay, let's take
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Now, I wouldn't say I'd take it off if I go into McDonald's, but then I wouldn't say I would.
All right, Heinz.
Heinz.
To whom are you being courteous when you take off your hat?
I'm being courteous to the other shoppers that I don't look like I'm outside doing something outdoors, that I'm paying attention to what I'm doing in the store. It's not that I find a lot of people in there who are not paying
I was
attention.
going to say.
They're not playing cards or watching TV.
In Heinz,
So for me,
you're talking, you know, you run into your neighbor, you block the aisle, you do all that
I
stuff.
don't you feel uncomfortable talking to a woman with your hat on?
how about wearing?
No,
How about
but I
when-
was raised in a lower class
Someone comes
family.
up to you and they have their dark glasses on and you
Yeah, you
can't
like
see
that?
their eyes. You like that? Talking to them, you can't see their eyes?
That's, but I don't find it like discourteous. I don't
Yeah.
think like some
Now,
other.
I can't
they're-
defend this really, but for me, it's part of manliness, it's part of being a gentleman to take your hat off. And so these other men, are they not gentlemen in the store? Well, to
No,
that
I don't
degree,
think so.
to that degree, they should. It's a courtesy, it's a kind of an attitude that you have toward other people when you're in, you take
Well,
it off.
apparently it's only the rich have an attitude, according to Senor Wences over here.
Yeah. Now, if you're in the bright sunlight, you're outside and you've got your sunglasses on and you're talking to somebody, then do you take the
No.
glasses off?
Not usually, but if I was up close having a lengthy conversation about something where really wanted them to see my expression or something, I would take my glasses off. But normally, no. If I was at the swimming pool or
Right,
just on the street, I'd probably keep them on.
right.
Okay.
But there are people who wear theirs inside and other places, and they come up and
No,
talk to
I
you.
can't wear it inside, it's too dark. I don't want to run into the various things, it's too
Well,
dark.
they have lenses that.
I
Well, you know,
I
I am now at Heinen's going to take a careful look
Right.
to see how many men are carrying a hat in their hand
Or have it in their shopping cart.
or having it in the shopping cart, whatever, as compared to men who have their ballpark
Well, I'll go ask
ball
him.
cap.
Let me go down and ask him. I'll ask him. Do you notice that men take off their hats?
I'm sorry, you're going to ask who?
I could ask the people down at Heinen's. Would
You talking about the workers?
Yeah, will you give me a discount? I'll take my hat off.
Well, and of course, women don't take their hats off unless they're in the military, apparently. Then they do take
no,
their
they're
hats
supposed
off.
to leave them on.
No, they've done in the military, they take them
No,
off.
but I mean, when they go into a church,
Oh,
they're supposed to
cover their head.
Yeah, you've got to. You know, all those churches in Europe,
God
wants
wants
you
you to
always
cover
have to
your
have
head.
something on your
That's
head.
right.
God forbid you go in there without something covering your head.
And your
Yeah, you
your
can.
shoulders.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
well,
all
That
right.
was the most spirited. We're rolling.